City Council order, please rise for the silence followed by the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which is one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilmember Alexander. Here. Councilmember Brandt. Here. Councilmember Brinker. Here. Councilmember Complex. Councilmember Missouri. Here. Councilmember Stevenson.
Here.
Mayor Law.
Approval of the minutes from the November 4th meeting.
Your Honor, you have minutes from the November 4th as well as the November 6th special meeting. Although that's not on the agenda will be and reposted. There is no financial value to approving the minutes, so they can be added.
Okay. So, want to approve them both at the same time? But motion for that. Motion for and a second. Any questions or comments? Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Alexander. Yes. Councilmember Brandon. Yes. Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson. Mayor Law.
Yes. Public comments and requests, comments from residents or city taxpayers. Go ahead. State your name and
Couple questions. Are we not accepting any applications for street closures at this time?
my understanding the last time was we were moving towards that one policy and that people could put their request in base, knowing that that's the direction we were heading in the issue, but actually along those lines, but yeah, I get it wrong.
My understanding, you were to write a letter and let Casey know what you were proposing. That it was to be that letters were to be sent to Casey.
Okay, the reason I ask is, when we first did all this, we denied the every weekend. So my compromise was, I want to submit for every other weekend, but I didn't know if we were waiting until you adopted new rules going forward, or like Mr. Stevenson said, we've already in this application process, to switch something in the middle of it's kind of, where do you stand? So if you are accepting applications for continuing, I'd like to submit it for every other weekend.
Okay. We wouldn't be able to address it tonight.
No,
It wasn't.
By the end of
You
the
can give it to the space, right?
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
My name is Universe Stahl, Lock Haven resident. I apologize, you're gonna laugh at this, because I guarantee you've never been asked this before. I have exotics. I have 3 skunks and 2 raccoons that live in my house. They are permitted. I'm local to have them. I got them from Beckham's Birds and Beasts over the years. I would like to breed my skunks. Now, under Pennsylvania law, I can breed as many of them as I want for my personal property. I can't even so much as give one to a friend without a propagation permit from the Game Commission. When I spoke to the Game Commission, they're aware of my situation. They said in order to move forward on the permit, I have to have a letter from the governing body of the town I live in to get granting me authorization to get the permit, be able to breed them and sell them.
So, again, it's not on the agenda, so we would not be able to vote on that. You'd have to put a request to have it on next week's agenda.
We have, you are correct, I am not laughing at you, but it is a week of firsts in a lot of ways, and this is the first time I have ever heard such a request.
I
But
felt like this was important enough to bring to you in person, instead of you seeing a letter, what?
someone may not,
Some things you can't explain in writing.
the wrong person may not have believed that was a letter that is legitimate.
Yes. So I support that.
Definitely, if you have information that you can supply or like with you tonight, or
Yes.
we can send that off to the city solicitor. So that if it is something the council has the authority to do, he can make sure that's written for you in a proper way so that council can take up that consideration.
Yes, I do. Let me attach, I am also the Lock Havens constable. I'm not using that position as influence. I'm gonna give you one of my clerks. That's all I show on it.
I will say the raccoon was very polite to me in Lowe's a few years ago. I pet it.
Unless you have any business.
Nobody tell my. Nobody.
It was very nice.
You have all
Did
those.
not bite my
She
finger
wants
off.
to back. She's not watching, she's at a Milford meeting.
Yeah.
It's recorded.
Casey, can you delete this? Please, delete the entire back section. I think.
I couldn't believe I'd seen a raccoon in Lowe's.
And I don't want to stop.
So he's gonna give you that. Anyone else? Something?
No.
Yeah. Well, please state your name.
2 years ago, well, actually, it's the, 2023, we were granted permission to have an exhibit set at the Triangle Park. The community collected over $10,000 for that unit. And now we were told at the last minute when we were ready to set it up, that it would no longer be acceptable to be placed at the city's Triangle Park. We were quite concerned about that because, like I said, the community put out a very large amount of money to have that thing, and we were assuming, when we had a meeting with Kira at that time, that this was something that would be continual because of the cost of the project.
Well, the issue hasn't come before council to say yes or no.
Well,
This-
what was we found out noon on Fridays, we were gonna present that and let you guys know this at a time, but we weren't even told till afternoon. And they started putting the stuff up already, and they didn't even let us know, so we weren't aware of what was going on, not at all. That the whole thing, the whole project was changed.
And you have to be careful because you're talking about downtown, the
Yes, I
organization,
know, but-
downtown Lock Haven. Kira never worked for the city and she
Right,
worked for
right.
down, so
Right, but
you're
it was
dealing with
approved.
it.
It was approved.
It doesn't, yeah, that doesn't have anything to do with us.
The park is city.
The park is the city's, and so you need to come to us with your request.
Well, no,
Oh, I'm sorry.
exactly. Council gave permission to downtown Lock Haven to decorate for years. Now, you certainly had permission from Kira, but you not knowing, just looking at the other side, they may not have known, because Kira isn't there. And
Right.
So they have a new manager, so I don't want people to think the manager withheld that information. She may not have known anything about.
She didn't.
I don't think she
Right.
did.
She did not know, but once again, there was, when we tried to get a hold of them, the information was held back after that noontime space that we could have let you guys know. So it's like, how come we weren't notified? How come
That's-
somebody, yeah, it's not your fault.
That's a question for
I
downtown
know.
Haven.
When we approached them, they haven't gotten back to us. All right, so it's the city's park.
As part of downtown, did you ask them though?
Oh,
Did you,
yeah.
did they say no?
Well, what they want to do is they want a place and to be set at the church that was across the street from the, what used to be the Salvation Army. But it is what, as you know, that piece of grass is much too small for that and can't. It basically was built for the Triangle Park. The whole crest, the pieces are life size. And like I said, the community spent over $10,000 on this thing. So you're not talking just one individual church or whatever. This is a combination of a lot of people putting a lot of money into this project.
I think you didn't know you needed to approach them earlier and apply for it. Evidently, you can piggyback on them
Right,
decorating
we've
Triangle
been
Park.
done that,
But I was at the meeting and I didn't hear anybody say, so it must be
yeah.
one, the manager saying no.
Steve is our representative on the board
And
downtown.
it didn't come up while I was there
Yeah,
at that meeting.
yeah, because of the whole, with the one meeting that we did have, and I remember being here, because there was a little bit of a concern about that, because they were saying Kara didn't include the nativity set, but it was like, it was Christmas decorations, and that's how she presented to you guys, and that's how it came into existence, basically. All right, but with that whole thing, it was assumed that because of the monetary, the cost of the whole thing, that it wasn't a one-time thing. Would you spend $10,000 on something that's fun? That the community also presented to everybody, a continual thing that Lock Haven would have, and Tiffany said that Triangle Park every year.
It was a collaboration effort between the community and Downtown Inc. Here at one time was going to try to raise money at activities. And the churches came together across Clinton County, said, no, we'll take care of it. And that's how it became community church thing a year ago. With the understanding that that was going to take place year after year. As everybody knows, management has changed down in Downtown Inc. The vision has changed to Downtown Inc. We can't control Downtown Inc. I do know more. I don't want to get into all the particulars. That's not my place here. This year it's at St. Paul's, and then next year the vision is to turn Fallon Alley into winter wonderland and put the nativity scene in an alley. So as you can see, the community members are a little distraught that their investment went from Triangle Park off to the side, now into an alley,
Which can't be.
which would be very uncovered and unprotected and unseen. That's where that's at. So I guess for us, the question is, if Downtown Inc. has full propriety over Triangle Park because we did give them permission, does that mean that nobody else is allowed to use Triangle Park during this time? To put anything up?
Question for council, I guess, you know,
Right, so,
the city council determines how it's used. We approved it last time because it was part of. They've chosen,
well, last year we didn't even approve it because they went under Downtown Inc. for the insurance purposes. So last year it was under the insurance of Downtown Inc. That's why that was the connection with it. We didn't approve that with council last year. So that's where it's at right now. So I guess the underlying question is, if Downtown Inc. isn't going to include it, they're going to put it in 2 different locations for the next 2 years, because that's not the vision. Is the community of Lock Haven up council going to be willing to stand with the community of all the different churches in our area that invested heavily into a manger scene be put on Triangle Park? They wish.
Didn't hear about it being put in an alley. All I heard was a Santa hut going to an alley. Just, they were thinking out loud.
Right.
But the vision for Triangle Park is staying the same this year. But next year, and they're gonna work towards turning it into a destination of a gingerbread theme. So nativity and gingerbread might not work too well, but I think this year we should share the park with the nativity scene and downtown and try to get them to collaborate this year, knowing to find a place for next year, because I think the whole park is gonna be all a totally different theme than what it was last year or this year. So looking ahead, my opinion is they should apply and we'll co-share the park this year, and next year's a different story. But, and maybe maybe downtown would welcome them in and we can work something out between them, but we should authorize it, at least to apply, so they can get through the next 2 weeks before the season gets here. Because we'll meet the next 2 weeks, right?
we meet next Monday.
You need 2 weeks.
Well, it's not street.
It's not street closed, so we can approve. That's my opinion moving forward, to collaborate between everybody and try to get through this Christmas.
I would just say, because you did give permission to Downtown Lock Haven and they have worked on vision for what they intended this year, obviously, sounds like they didn't know about nativity and that wasn't included in what they've designed. It might be a good idea just to reach out to downtown Lock Haven before then to see if they could come up with a location that they would suggest in the park that may accommodate, because if they've already designed the whole thing, it can be.
I think the design was the gazebo and exactly, except for the addition of the hut. The hut's still gonna face towards the post office, but the rest of the open area, I didn't see anything.
They worked on it all day today. They've been down there all
Finding
day.
the green space.
Yeah, they've been down there all day working.
So you're right, I don't think they knew, and I don't think they envisioned that coming, but I'm just giving you a warning ahead of time. And that's, you should find it next.
But seeing the location would be helpful to council because it is your park. So you are the ones ultimately that if someone were unhappy with something, they're coming out here, you guys. So seeing the exact location would be, I think, for you guys.
No matter which direction they're unhappy from.
They're gonna
Well,
miss out.
they did know that there was a manger scene there, activity that was made there last year, that's why they moved it. Because it didn't fit their vision this year. Decision was made on Friday. Between 9 and 1 o'clock, I think.
So they didn't have
They moved the nativity from the Triangle Park because it didn't fit their vision. But they knew of the major scene.
last year, but not
They,
that it
no,
would.
they knew, yeah, they knew that because there was phone calls made. So they were very aware of.
You don't have to argue with
I know,
me.
but I guess we need to, yeah.
Well, I think we're in the same spot we've been in a lot of times before. We're in a jam with downtown Lock Haven. It's their organization that we don't control. I think it's really important for people to understand.
And it's a fine line between, we don't control them, but we do control the park, so.
Right. But we gave them permission to use the park.
We did. And I think it's really,
What would happen if we gave the nativity permission to use them? And downtown would have been out. So that's why I say let them use it together.
Well, I think they should use it together as well, but
This-
I'm on downtown Lock Haven's board. And I don't want to, we can't speak for downtown. We can't speak for downtown Lock Haven. I think that we need to hear from downtown Lock Haven and they need to make a request and we need to hear from downtown Lock Haven. Can we help them work it out?
Well, and again, nothing can be done tonight anyways,
Right.
so if you make the request, obviously downtown Lock Haven should be notified of that, and if they have some type of issue with that, they can come to the meeting and we can get feedback. All directions. Right?
Location is important.
I agree, so, that's what our advice would be to you is to request and, Lock Haven should be notified, the request to be heard, and so we can deal with it before the festive time hits, and we can all be festive. So, thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you.
I
Appreciate your help.
have a question there.
Yes,
For Mr. Gill, I didn't get a chance to finish asking, do you have, what's your address?
656 East Main Street.
And this business with the skunks and raccoons, is that bona fide business?
It's not a business.
Is it the hobby?
It's, I wouldn't even say it's really a hobby, they're my pets, they live in my house. I just have a couple friends that want some and I lawfully can't even give them one without a permit. I'm not looking to mass breed, I'm looking to do a litter or two. I'm gonna sell off a couple of males to another breeder down in York, fresh breed stock. And I actually, if you read the letter, I was planning on donating some of the funds back to the county's 911 center. But I'm not looking to make a business out of this.
no, we just have a bunch of friends who have been around our exotics. They've played with our exotics and they would love to have a skunk, but we can't even give them one of our skunks legally because if we would get them a skunk, their neighbor got word of it, didn't like it, so they could come in and kill our skunks and the skunk would just be burnt. So we just need a letter from the city saying, you don't want to give them a skunk. So then we
Not
can,
that, I need one that states, per the game commission rule, they would grant me the ability to get a propagation permit. There, the game commission and the USDA would oversee the pen, they would oversee how many are bred, if they're, in proper conditions and all that.
How did Bechtel's Bird and Beast do it without, because they were a different category or a
Was
different?
that,
I'm sure they bred, if you got the skunks and raccoons from them and they passed them on to you, they certainly probably bred them also.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Are they under the same propagation stuff?
Yeah, that's all it is, game commission, you pay $25, they send a warden out to verify that you have paperwork to show you didn't just catch them out of the wild. And they make sure that they're in a humane where they live, which, my guys are spoiled, so.
So Bechtel's had to get a permit from the township they were in.
Yeah, back.
So Justin may be able to research that straight through them.
But that was also 50 years ago when Charlie Bechtel got his, may have changed since then. I got them because I was friends with Bechtel family when Charlie passed. They called me and told me I could have a bunch of the animals because I was around.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
You're good, no, it's all right. I just figured we'd be talking about it next time whenever we did it. Okay, any other comments from city taxpayers or residents? Okay. 4B, use of East Main Street parking lot on December 13th for the Robb Elementary Holiday Concert. Principal Barnes for president.
Yeah. Came here on behalf of Robb Elementary School to request the utilization of the East Main Street parking lot for our holiday concert on December 13th. And we partnered with Downtown Lock Haven on that as far as encouraging students and our families to patronize downtown businesses. They get punch cards to visit at least five businesses in downtown Lock Haven over the course of the weekend. And when they come back to school on Monday, they return that punch card and it's entered into a prize drawing. So we try to do what we can to support the businesses downtown. I know that the candy shop makes out very well that night. They're usually very well outside that. So I'm just here on behalf of the school to officially ask permission to utilize the parking lot again this year.
Go ahead, motion. You did. Which one to give the second? Any questions or comments?
Did they turn the paperwork into Casey? For request for public use?
He emailed me directly.
Okay. Cause I didn't see a copy of it.
I will say that I went to last year's, and, it's, if you have the opportunity, it's, one of those things that really makes you feel good about the community. Anything else? Off the vote, please.
Councilmember Alexander.
Yes.
Councilmember Brandon.
Yeah.
Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. Thank you, Principal Barker.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other, things under item under 4?
Not that I,
Okay. Unfinished business. 5A, consideration of ordinance number 2025-05.
the second reading of the wage ordinance for non-union employees for next year. It does include an exhibit A, which lists the actual wage this year and next year along with the percent, and an exhibit B, which is there for informational purposes. Those are either stipends or they are wages that are agreed to through collective bargaining agreements with APSCME or the Police Officers Association. It remains unchanged from first reading.
Which council?
I move approval.
I will second.
Motion for a second, any comments? Go ahead. I will state again that I really don't like the side of the board. So it is widen the gap between the haves and the have-nots. Which or raises. So. Anything else? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Alexander.
Yes.
Councilmember Brandon.
Yes.
Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. 5B, consideration of the rules for street closures.
I did, submit to council a new application for, this will be just for street closures. And with it, it has the same, basically the same first page, that states the rules, outlined in resolution 21-20-23. But then on the back of that has, block party / street closure rules and conditions. You feel free to, you know, cross something out or make amends to that. This was based on Millvale as well as comments from council. So there were some differing comments from council, so I tried to put everyone's in there, and then if you want to take something out, you may.
We have a question, and I noted this last week, and I should have asked it last week, but we have resident nonprofits as third, and so it goes individual, business, nonprofits, then non-resident. Is there a reason why businesses? Because I feel like our nonprofits are the ones that are doing our block parties and our street closures that are involving the entire community.
That was just how it was in the resolution, so
Okay.
I just copied it.
Yeah,
But I don't,
that's fine. I just was wondering if there was a reasoning thought behind it, et cetera.
I think in the original one, it was because almost all requests are made in the central business district,
Okay,
which is business oriented,
yeah.
more than necessarily nonprofit oriented. So I think that's how that got arranged. But gosh. With violence.
Yeah. 2016, so.
Are you suggesting that they be changed?
I think it makes sense to change it. I don't know that we're ever going to have an issue where we have a business and a nonprofit and a resident all asking for the same street closure at the same time, but so I don't think it's really gonna matter in the end, but yeah. There's something I noticed when I was looking at this today.
Did you have a suggestion for the fee, extra barricades and trash cans, or was there a?
the one, I believe Bloomsburg is the application that we had copied for that part. And I think it was $25 for barricades and trash cans. And then I think $75 for fire police, but
Is that enough to cover the cost of such a thing?
That's what I was just gonna say. Your barricades have a fixed rate, for what you could charge. The trash cans needs to be tethered to what the garbage collection fee is. And for this year, they did set, like a special pickup of a trash can at a significantly higher rate than its traditional pickup. So it would have to be enough to cover that. So we'll have to come back to you next week with exact figures in a resolution for you to adopt.
It's establishing rate.
Right.
I don't mind, a slight fee, $25 or so. Because we set the barricades out and they sit there for a long time. It's at our convenience and then we pick them up. Usually the nonprofit or the business sets them out and also opens up the street. Except for like, well, on Fridays, we open the streets up, so there's no city employees involved, although when they do close it, it's like boom, and they're done, and the barricades are already set. So the fee, I'm not worried so much about,
It is,
especially the garbage. I don't wanna get into garbage bits, so I think whoever has the event, they take care of the garbage, they may go in the dumpster and decide to put it in their dumpsters. Instead of,
it is for additional, so that would be in areas where you don't already have barricades or you don't have trash cans. And we need to take those to that location and then arrange for their pickup as well.
but, the more rules and regulations we have, the harder it is to manage too. The only other thing I don't agree with is 1 day in a 30-day period. If somebody goes to the expense of buying a whole bunch of tables and umbrellas and they have the street closed and they have a big investment in it, 1 day isn't quite enough of a return on their money. And if it could be a weekend, like a Friday and Saturday night, because I know one place brings a stage in, that's a lot of work to get that in there, jockey around and get it set up for one night. Is that really worth it? So 1 day for a whole month, I don't think is, I think it's too restrictive for 1 day. And what if it's a weekend jams thing? What if it's a street closure, fire company closes the alley to sell Christmas trees at the month? On Fridays, that's usually Friday night and into Saturday, sometimes that weekend. So, one day is not. I don't think it's enough time. If they only want one day, then give them one day. If they want at least 2 days, I think we should at least make it the weekend for them. And then that way they at least have a rain day. If it rained Friday, they would have Saturday and not have to come back to us, or it's gonna rain Friday, but not, so one day is too narrow of a scope.
To clarify though, it doesn't say one day, it says once. Does that mean one,
Closure.
yeah, one close, does that mean one day or does it mean the weekend or, you know, that, I don't know that it necessarily says one day, because I didn't necessarily read it. When I read it, I didn't read it as one day, I read it as. I
One
guess
event.
I read it in my head as a weekend, so.
Yeah, like one event.
Yeah,
Like
one event,
LH Jams would be one event.
yes, that's how I read it, whether
So
that,
once it's closed, it doesn't matter how long, as long as it's only once a month,
that's,
is what you're saying.
that's how I read it, but I don't know whether that's the intent or.
Yeah,
not.
I didn't read
Should-
it that way.
Should it, and clear, obviously, that's an
That's a
issue.
better one,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we need to clarify.
We need to maybe
Yeah.
clarify exactly what that means.
because if it's, or once you close it and it's closed to, then that's a weekend. So
Yeah.
That would satisfy me with at least just a 1 day shot.
Yeah.
That's all they want.
Yeah.
They only want a 1 day shot.
I would ask for my clarification in this as well. If you go with that decision, then anyone else that comes in, like let's say Jams makes their request, but then downtown Lock Haven still wants to have their final Fridays. But it'd be my responsibility to be like, that street's already been closed for the month.
No, I don't, this is, this is as that particular group, or like, if we were talking about the old corn, do what we can. But if in the same month, Jim's happening, that doesn't, Jim, they're separate events.
She's right, GMs, and then downtown Lock Haven does Final Friday.
Right.
So that would be a weekend after, 2 weekends after Jams. So it'd be set twice in the same month, the same street.
Right.
And that's how that reads, things street. Should not be closed more than once in a month. So we should be.
Not closing down Main Street though.
But we have to, yeah. It would be for Jams.
Yeah, we have to provide authorization before PennDOT will allow.
So it comes through us as a step process. They let them apply and then we'll decide it when they apply. What if nobody else applies? What the hell? I heard Sean already say that he's given up half of his request from the last time of 14 weeks. Now he's down to 7. So I hope some other groups and businesses step up and apply for those vacant weekends in between whatever dates he applied for. So we have things downtown and at different areas in the city, and we're bringing those people in here to go to the restaurants and spend their money and the bars and entertainment. And what, they always said, no, there's nothing to do in Lock Haven. Well, guess what? There is something to do all the time. We're almost Music City. So we do the Triangle Park concerts and the ones on the floating stage and the ones that happened to be last year, and then the jams and everything else. This is a music town. And I'd like to keep that rolling if we could, because I think we have a good reputation with it and not any problems. So let them, who knows if anybody else is even gonna apply. I hope they don't waste those other 7 days that we would have had entertainment in town. And I encourage them to come on, step forward. If you're gonna do it, apply, and so we can fill those blanks.
The other businesses, any business that was interested was asked to submit to the director of community life, so they would know this week who to send those applications to. I don't know how many people did apply or send a letter.
I only heard from Sean and LH Jams.
So that's why I say let her flow.
Well, and if you want to address that, the street being closed more than once, so I just add to it by the same. So it doesn't mess with, when jams happen or when, you can always just add that to it so that, you know what I mean? I'm throwing that out.
Well, then we go back to the example, we have somebody asking for every other, 2 times a week, 2 times a month, every other week.
Yeah.
So that would hurt that So, yeah. Somebody's-
He was first, he asked first, go ahead.
Lost, felt unevident. It's a great idea, you're going to convert the garbage to whatever that fee is. I just sitting here had the thought, we should tether the barricades, whatever, to the labor rate of the employees who are gonna be doing that. Just voted on raises for them, and that way that would keep that current as time goes on, rather than be. Look at it in 3 or 4 years.
Any input? Oh, you had something else.
Listening to the stipulations of once every 30 days, you know, like Councilmember Stevens said, you know, when we first came here, the consensus was we didn't want it every weekend. What about every other weekend? You know, you really put a restriction on once every 30 days. And to Councilman Stevenson's point, they do have a lot of money invested in outdoor stuff, which that's my responsibility. I understand that, but the ROI on 2 weekends a month, I'm flexible with things, you know. But he wants to trade, so you know, it is what it is, but we need to work that out. So let's take that into consideration.
Or are we set on it being a 30-day period?
No, I say take it out. And let it fall as they imply.
Being it limited, because it limits residents' exposure to extra loud noise, it limits road closures or the convenience of getting downtown. When I look at it from a resident's perspective, having no limit decreases their quality of life for them. Because if we can have road closures every week on any streets in Lock Haven, that's not, if somebody closed my street every week in the summer, I would be livid, because in order to get to my house, I would have to go down an alley. In order to access my front door, I'd have to go down the hill that is my backyard. Like, there is not a street in this town that if it was closed every weekend would be beneficial to the residents. And we have to look at what the residents, we heard from many, many residents that said they did not. And I think limiting it is something we need to do for the residents.
I think I heard a vocal minority when that came up last time. I think there's hundreds of people in the state. I'd say
Is there any specific?
make it 2 times a month. At least,
I'm just, again, I'm trying to negotiate here and compromise, I hear 2 different sides.
Well, I think that the hundreds of people that aren't necessarily the same people who live in that neighborhood. So I think both of those things are true at the same time. And I think that we need to respect that. And so I do think there needs to be a limit. What that limit is, I'm not 100% certain. I do think that the folks that live there will be grateful that it's not going to be every single weekend. If it's every other weekend, or if we come up with, you know, I haven't seen what your proposal is, Sean, but if we see what kind of proposal is being made, is there something that perhaps one of the weekends it's earlier in the day, or, you know, is there something else going on? I mean, and how do we set a policy that we can apply the old, not just for the old corner, you know, that.
You have to take faces,
Yeah, you have to.
names out of it, you have to look at this as, doesn't matter who's walking in it, or this is how we wanna see it. I, for one, the activity downtown, want people downtown. It does not just benefit on a dual corner. I can tell you that my in-laws come into town for music, they live in Avis, they wouldn't come down. They go to sell eggs, because they didn't know offense, Sean, they don't wanna sit and wait on the limited one menu, and the waitress trying to get to them down there, they go eat first, and then they come over. I have had friends that come down from Renault that would not have come down, but they came down. And went down to the cost, so it doesn't just benefit, other places too, it doesn't just benefit them. That's right, that's the point, is trying to get people in town, making it a destination. I mean, that's destination Lock Haven. what we're trying to do.
I,
No, that's okay. So that's why I was saying, is there room for compromise? We can be. If perhaps we go to every other to see how this isn't written in stone.
yeah,
If it doesn't work this coming year, we can always look and, say, well, let's refine it further. And
This is starting. Set.
well, and I think this is not an ordinance, it is just a set of
It's a
rules,
policy.
correct, right? It's just the internal policy that we are considering. So I have no problem increasing that, but I also want to bring forward just the idea that we don't have to have a street closure for every band. We have a floating stage, we have Triangle Park, we have 4 parking lots downtown that could be excellent venues. The holiday concert is gonna be
Well,
at that.
understand what you're saying, but when they're doing it as a business, it has to be attached.
You've got a parking lot right next to it.
ALCD.
Parking lot, I would take.
Right, okay, so you're saying as long as it's
Like,
attached. Right.
let's find not just street closures. Let's look at, like, LH Jams doesn't necessarily have to be a street closure. Could it be spread amongst the different venues in town? Fringe Fest does it. They spread it amongst all the venues in town instead of having a street closure. So there's other ways to have all of this stuff in our town. There's other ways to create a busy downtown, have bands, have all the things. Downtown Lock Haven did it with the Moonlight Market. They didn't close the street. They just had it in the parking lot next to St. Paul's and Triangle Park. And I will say, as someone that goes to almost every street closure event and every event that Downtown Lock Haven does, that was one of the most successful and busy events I've seen there in a while. Because people were walking between the 2 venues for the market. They weren't just, oh, this is where the band is, and here's this restaurant where I can still listen to the band, and I'm gonna hang out right here. They were all over downtown, which was great to see.
May I also add to, just for clarification, there was the mention last time for the 80% of signatures from feedback from council, that was provided. It was felt that the 2 meetings for approval gives the public a chance to come, because it would be really difficult and not really equitable for, like, depending on what location, how many signatures and all that. So.
And where they're getting their data, cause like there's a public meeting related to my house next Tuesday and it came to the old homeowner.
So that wasn't an issue.
We've done that
So-
for years.
Thank you for the clarification. So you're willing to compromise and be
Yeah.
somewhere in the middle then?
Yeah,
And again, to give it a try and see where it heads. Are you willing to make a motion to adopt this with change? Steve, maybe make a motion.
can we make a motion to adopt this with the fee as determined by the numbers we have to determine it by? With the addition, instead of once per 30 days, it's twice in a 30-day period per entity or per requester.
Yeah.
However, we would,
I think that sounds like a nice compromise. Anyone else? Do you want to make that?
yeah,
motion?
we will make,
Did you get that, Casey?
yeah, so I'm making the motion that after, we'll do an ordinance next time with the fees, but we're changing it to no street shall be closed more than twice in a 30-day period by
The same.
one requester,
Thank you.
one entity, whatever.
Gotcha. And the fee, you're gonna base it more on
Yeah.
actual costs.
Yeah.
We'll do that as a separate.
Thing, yeah.
You have to set these by resolution.
Yeah. Yes,
What if we limit an entity to no more than 4
Like per year.
per year? I mean, somebody could have. I mean, you look at it and you go through, I'm looking here at April. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. They could get, if they wanna run it through September, it's still gonna be warm. One entity could have 12 on the same street. We're back to the residents going. We fix this.
Yeah, we're taking a step here.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, if I have 12 concerts on my street, we did not solve the problem. We heard you, but we didn't hear you.
but the consensus from that night was they didn't want it every week. They were going.
I understand, but I'm just saying, if I got a rock concert outside my house. Where I'm at 12 nights a week, I got an 18-month-old.
4 nights a month. Not 12.
I'm going, if I go April through September, I'm just doing hypothetical. I got an 18-month-old. I get a newborn coming into my house. That's not gonna roll. I would be very upset with council allowing that to happen.
You don't live in central business.
I'm just saying, if I had that, I would be very upset. And we would be listening to that. So if you wanna compromise, maybe have it and then have 4 times instead of. I'm just,
I'm satisfied with the compromise of not every weekend to 2 weekends a month per entity. I think that's a good compromise, and we'll see how that works. And then we'll make adjustments next year, or we'll continue it, or we'll see how it goes. I think it's a good compromise. Thank you.
It's
You have a
one that.
motion? Do we have a second?
So there was a second one.
No. No, there was only a motion.
I'll second it.
Yeah, motion for a second. Any other question?
We can still, when the ordinance or resolution comes forward next week, there's still room for adjustment if necessary or anything.
Right, because it's.
And that gets good. This is just.
Yeah, this is just,
Gives them guidance on what we're willing
Yeah,
to do.
and I would
the
encourage,
resolution, all we're approving is the fee.
yeah, I would encourage us to keep it as low as possible as part of our contribution of the city's side of every event that we are helping out also, because we have a stake in this too. So if we keep our fee, that fee low, even abnormally low, I'm okay with that as almost an in-kind donation. Not necessarily a penny for penny type thing. I would rather help that outfit succeed than, or especially if it's a nonprofit. Sure.
Okay, so on the motion on the floor and the second, any other comments? Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Alexander.
Yes.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yeah.
Councilmember Bricker.
Yeah.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. 5D, award of the construction contract for State Route 156th Avenue Board Street Signal Improvement.
They bid for the traffic signal improvement project at State Route 150 Second Avenue, Water Street. Were open on November 13th at PM. There were 2 bids received for the project. The lowest bid being $13,894.92 by M&D Services. The project is funded through PennDOT by the Green Light Go program. The city received a grant of $351,719. And that makes our city local match $108,884.93. It is higher than what we originally budgeted for the 20%, but any overrun is on the city. I am asking for additional funding as it is nearing the end of the budget year. Doesn't hurt to ask. From PennDOT, so, if not, we can look at using liquid fuel. Upon award, contracting will start immediately, so they can order equipment and construction will happen as soon as possible in the spring.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I will second.
Motion for a second, any questions or comments on that motion?
If Robert, can we amend our application to PennDOT for the Green Light Go program? Since there was a cost overrun increase. And they work on a percentage of the initial engineering estimate, which was low. And by the time everybody got around to actually saying, here's the bid, it went up. Don't you think they should proportionally go up, which would reduce our cost? Is there an amended application where we'll delay the project
We would not,
really bad till next year? So what?
it would delay and technically, I guess they would not amend in that nature, but they might have extra funds to get, but it wouldn't amend, I don't think, in that sense.
sometimes when a municipality didn't use their,
Right.
then they can bring it, and I would ask for that right away. Will that, I didn't see maybe I did, and I don't remember. Hopefully, they're not gonna set it right on that very corner of Murray Motors again, because it gets hit all the time. Hopefully, they'll set it back, or then it'll be that standard will be not on that corner.
It is redesigned, I'm not gonna speak on it because I haven't looked at it recently, but if you wanna see them, I'll.
Okay, 'cause Blanket's trucks all, and they hit it, and they go around that corner there.
Yeah. That's so a big redesign, and also the signal timings have been changed from Barton Street and Second Avenue, so they go at separate times rather than. Towards the exact right turn.
Oh, yeah, that's a safety
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
That's good.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion for a second. Any further questions or comments on? Call for the vote, please.
Councilmember Alexander.
Yes.
Councilmember Brandon.
Yes.
Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. 5D, Water Department application to PUC.
This is for council's information that continue mediation with the Public Utility Commission. The city has agreed that it may take up until July 28th of 2025 to implement the new rate. The actual date of increase is still subject to PUC mediation and may start before that. But that is the latest date now at which the new rate would go into effect.
Action needed on that, correct?
Yes.
Okay, any other unfinished business?
I have none, sir.
Okay, new business. 6A, consideration of resolution number 2024-31.
The resolution to apply for the local share count statewide program, through the Commonwealth Financing Authority. We're looking to apply for $1 million to be used in the purchase of a new aerial vehicle for the Washington Fire Department. There will be a Quint vehicle, a Quint apparatus, to replace 2 of the outdated vehicles that they have. So they're going to efficiency and also bring in will be a ladder vehicle and also a water. And it's said layman terms, I apologize to the fire. That's fine.
What's it, Council?
No second.
The motion floor is second. Any questions or comments on the motion?
This doesn't commit us to, purchasing it, it's just to apply for money toward it.
Correct.
Is there a capital campaign, getting ready to start to solicit funds from our friends at the university that they always said they would help us with it, and other sources to offset that cost, because it's gonna be more than $1 million.
Chief Wooding is working on
Is it? Yeah. Because I would need to have all that commitment. If you're gonna buy red lights for $128,000, then you better come up with some money for a fire truck someplace.
So, did we get a motion? Any other questions? Oh,
Councilmember Alexander.
Yes.
Councilmember Brandon.
Yes.
Councilmember Brinker.
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri.
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes.
Mayor Long.
yeah. 6C, notification from the PA Liquor Control Board.
You'll see as, which I guess they hate that, they like, be called PLC, just LC. But anyway, Good Neighbor Craft House has sent notification that its intention to relocate its license within the city limits. And within the city limits, Bald Eagle Distributors Incorporated, which is Brook Street, will be changing ownership. So if anyone has comments on that, you can visit the liquorcontrolboard.pa.gov and find information there about those transfers. Each of those entities should also have that posted at their actual facility with more information on how.
I did, go to those websites today and followed all those links. And it led me absolutely nowhere, because I wanted to read both of them and see what that process was. And try it tomorrow. I even brought up two screens, the one with this information and the LCB screen. And I followed the link for link, and as soon as you get to that, search for licenses, item, get it. So nothing, there's absolutely nothing. So if somebody tries it, let me know. I just wanted to read it and see how.
This is, the representative for, which is, they'd be able to,
Yeah,
get input on that, so I'll email them that you tried to.
the link went through. It just didn't follow the right.
It just didn't give you any
It didn't get me anywhere. It got me to the next grouping of choices, but not these ones that were listed here.
Not an easy way to get more.
No, well, okay.
Anything else on that? Okay. 6D, notice of order 3, Comcast franchise fee.
The subcouncil receives notification which gets entered into the minutes that the franchise fee for the third quarter was $22,079.41.
6E, received 2023 housing authority file.
This is also, so this appears in the minutes. The city share of proceeds from the Clinton County Housing Authority payment in lieu of taxes this year is $10,512.11. The county received proceeds as well as Keystone Central and Renova. The largest collector of proceeds, of course, is Keystone Central.
That's important because a lot of people out there think that they don't get anything from because they're against no. They aren't taxable, but they do give us something towards cost of running. Yeah, important for them to know that we do get something. Any other new business?
I have none, Your Honor.
Okay, the 2025 annual budget. Is everybody happy and playable?
So you will receive the budget book during the course of this week, which will also be placed online. The budget schedule is included for council as well as some information about millage rates that I'll go over, but the budget calendar will include that on the 25th, which is next week. City council will discuss streets and stormwater as well as public property, which is the levy and parks and water, as well as any further discussion that wants to come up from council. On December 2nd, both the airport and sewer will be discussed as well as any other issue the council has. And December 9th will be public safety night with police, fire and codes. With the 16th tentatively is the adoption for the budget. What I can speak to generally about the budget is this meeting is 2 days earlier than when the budget came to you last year. And what a difference those 2 days make. So today, up 350, which I haven't had a chance to look at yet, came the workers' comp rate for next year, which is a significant portion of benefits. And tomorrow is again another mediation with the Public Utility Commission, which hopefully will be one of our last. It does appear that things are getting much closer on our side as well as the PUC. So that has an enormous impact on the water fund budget, which of course would then have an impact on the general fund budget if there isn't enough money coming from PUC and the period that you can collect it. For the first time, since maybe 2014, the sewer fund will actually end with a positive balance. Due in part to non-treatment collection obligations of the sewer fund being moved to a different fund. So what you're really accounting for with the user fee is collection, distribution, and administration. Collection, treatment, and administration. We don't really distribute the cost sewer, but that's more water obligation. But that's very encouraging. because council has, worked hard to get that fund stabilized. And, today was another opportunity for the city council subcommittee and the county to continue their discussion about the airport. Obviously, there, different overlapping things that need to take place with that, but the city has a general obligation to adopt a budget for the whole of next year with the airport. It does appear right now the airport will, more expenditures than revenues. Like way of saying, of about $52,000, is the way it's currently pegged. So there is some general fund obligation still there for this year. Next year, again, that is influenced by the fact that today, just this evening, the capital projects for the Bureau of Aviation were awarded. So I looked at that to see if the capital projects the city have funded. So it's a pretty important couple days that make a big impact on the budget. So I will get that out by the end of the week to you. One thing I want to talk about is the general fund is not slated to have a tax increase, but what's charged by council last year. So I'd asked that we each year present you forward to get to a single rate millage. So making adjustments every year towards getting that down to single amount that people can apply to both the land and improvement. So the way the city taxes its real estate is the way that one of only 16 in the Commonwealth's 2,800 collect real estate tax. So you can understand it's very confusing for a lot of people that this particular way of taxation can make people not understand what's really being collected because they can't compare the city's millage rate to Woodward's or Caston. So the city taxes land very heavily. So that's the bulk of the revenue that comes in from real estate. Your improvement on that land, whether it's a parking lot or it's a hotel, is taxed very slightly. And so as a general rule, this out, studied this many times, every 250 feet in the city is worth the same amount of money. It doesn't matter if you live on the street I live, or June House lives, where Sunset Pines is, or downtown Lock Haven, and every 250 feet is about worth the same tax revenue because we tax land. So what everyone else does is tax both. To get back to that, you can make those adjustments, and what is true, Mayor knows from having been a commissioner, that when you make those adjustments where you're going to adjust land and adjust improvement, about a third of the people are going to see their tax bill go up, a third will see it go down, and a third won't really notice much of a change. However, the exact same total dollar amount into the city. So at face value, the city's tax would collect $3.2 million each year. So using the current tax millage, the city at face, and I say that at face, would be $3.2 million. The reality is the city gets about $2.7 million because 75% of the city pays in discount. So this is a very good city at paying discount. So hardly anybody pays it, but the people who do pay a face, we've seen that rate go up. Council made the decision a few years ago to permit people to make 4 payments, and that took the city from about an 82 to 85% collection rate to between 92 and 96 every year. So it really has helped people when you guys instituted that decision and made it much easier. That's made a huge impact on the amount of money that comes in because we don't have to wait for it to come from sheriff sales, judicial sales, some of which never comes. So
Also spreads it out a little too.
Yeah.
I know. We would take well. That's anticipation note. And we need to pay bills, but staff don't come until a period of time, so spreading it out a little bit too. You know,
We do have, a millage that is based on this year's assessed values that came in. Those also just came in. And they're a little different presentation than we've gotten in the past. But, right now it's basically looking at the ordinance that you will receive next week will be, land millage falling from 0.029 down to 0.02. Millage for improvement increasing from 0.0079 to 0.0098. And that still gives 3208352. If anything, as you will see in council's packet, council will actually bring in $475 less in real estate taxes next year. But that's as close as I can get it without going.
questions? Basically, on that. Comprehensive plan update, I think that's is wrong.
I would almost like to open the budget. How did your money get spent to accomplish the goal?
So council was provided with two packets, just note those ones that don't live here. There is a project on our Washington Civil Space page for the comprehensive plan. It has all the accomplishments, since 2021 by each year listed out, which is the same packet I give the council, every year. And at the end of the month, probably, when the right enrollment, these will be uploaded to that project as well. So, the first larger packet is the plan accomplishments for 2024. They are all outlined for every department submits in your budget, their main goals for the next year. So taking from those accomplishments as well as others I've worked on and others that everyone else has told me, compiled 65 priority goals and action items that have been addressed this year. That is not, there's only 60 action strategies. So we have addressed the same one multiple times. Things like water and sewer issues is one action strategy. Of course, we do multiple of those projects every year. So that's how that works out. So this is for your review, just knowledge of us continuing to work toward these goals. The second packet is a overall snapshot of all the accomplishments since April 2021. The first page, you can see 34 action strategies have been completed out of the 60 identified. That is not duplicative. So all 60, I didn't double count. If you address one, then didn't count up over. So 34 in total. Bottom, I felt like it's on the top of my face, so I will tell you the correct things. For the housing strategy, we addressed 6 out of the 10. For business, 7 out of the 12. For service provider, 4 out of 8. In recreation, 6 out of 13. And for the sustainable community, 11 out of 17. And then the remaining 2 pages are the breakdown of that. You can see it on the far left. For the accomplish. For your information, and again, will be on the Civil Space page. Welcome to reach out for questions.
Question.
Thank you for the reporting.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, the accomplishments are all halfway there. Keep plugging away.
The plan is a living document.
Oh, yeah, I'm actually not done yet, stand back up. On the back, there is,
future action, accomplishments, so the command, so it is a living document. We did adopt in 2021, had COVID while we were doing the community engagement. So there were future action strategies that we were had to address in order to keep this living document keep it up to date. 4 of those have been accomplished, 4 are in progress, they were to be done by the end of this year. One of note is we conducted a 3-year check-in, Commonwealth University of Lock Haven, to learn how the students interact with the city, how the integration has dealt. Again, we didn't have the opportunity to connect with them because of COVID, the students weren't here, and also it was mixed integration, so we didn't know what was going to happen, so it was great to check in with them. This year, the town and gown committee was a huge help with that as well. We updated all the numbers to reflect the 2020 census. That will just be added as the appendix. And then we are in the process of updating our zoning ordinance. It's the very beginning of that process, but also we are looking at the RFP for that right now, and we'll hopefully get that out beginning of 2025.
Question. Thank you. So. Consideration of ordinance number 2024-06-2025.
Will be next meeting.
I wondered, since I didn't see that actually in the packet, but I saw the agenda, so that means that's, D would also be that, which
You could do that, or you could just travel.
we'll do the next.
Yeah, I figured you'd prefer the next.
All right, anything else on the end, anyone?
I didn't know.
We have the FYI reports. Anybody else have any reports from any of their committees that they serve on or authorities or what have you?
The city manager indicated we did meet today. The airport committee met with commissioners today and had what we felt was a very positive conversation. And we feel like we're moving in the direction that we've been asked by council to move. And things are going well, and we're hopeful that we'll see some public action.
Anyone else?
I have a question, Your Honor.
Yes.
The letter from Castleton Township. Are you gonna? I don't know if you want to talk
That's
about
for
it.
your information. I
Okay,
don't
all right.
know the response yet. I do understand their point of view. It would be the same point of view of the city if there was another entity. But realistically, it is not the city that brought this request forward. The city had assessed that this needed to be done, the city would be responsible, but if the entity requests, they are responsible. Right now, in order to make your budget balance, and this is with the PUC increase, you have a total of $1,200 budgeted for all fire hydrants next year in 2025. The cost of a new hydrant is $4,900. So you simply don't have the money in next year's budget to replace that hydrant. But you also don't have the obligation because it isn't the city that initiated the discussion or decision about needing to replace that. It is usable. The fire department that responds does have the equipment to use that hydrant. So, the city has the same type of hydrants in its municipality, and the city has done a hydrology study that does identify hydrants that need to be upgraded. All of that would be part of a major project the city would need to undertake, which is part of when we talk about the $45 million of improvements just in the city system alone. That's part of that project. So if Castanea wants that done sooner rather than later, Castanea would need to pay for the hydrant. If they want to wait until the $45 million worth of projects come to fruition, that would be one of the ones that would be taken care of. And that would be at not the city's expense. It's important to remember that is not the city's expense. That is the water department of the city's expense. In that, all of Castanea, all of Wayne Township, and all of the city's customers combined would help cover those costs. But right now, those three entities combined, that customer base only has $1,200 of budget for next year. That used to buy a hydrant. Then they went to 2,500, and now they're at 4,000. But the city did offer that we would not charge labor, which the ordinance says that the city would charge labor to the municipality that requests an upgrade to their hydrant. So I did write in the letter, we would not charge for it. They would pay. So I do understand where they're coming from. Sure, the council would come from the exact same place, but I just have to formulate something to send back to them, but that's ultimately what it would say.
Thank you.
Anything else?
We will be having another walk with council this coming Saturday. And it will begin at 9 AM at Piper Harmon Playground. If anyone has anything they would like to talk to council about, come meet council, come hang out with us, we'll be there. Piper Harmon.
No, I'm sorry, I said, wear your hat.
Oh.
Yeah, bundle up. We'll go out and we had said this before, we go regardless of the weather.
And I think the tree lighting is that night, the 24th. Isn't that Sunday night, the tree lighting?
Well, we're gonna be the
Yeah, we're the
23rd.
23rd.
Oh, you're Saturday,
We're Saturday morning at 9.
the heck of that. I must be busy.
Sure you are.
Anything else? Anyone else have any? Short executive session personnel. Do I have a motion to adjourn?